Environmental approval is still pending on multiple wind to hydrogen proposals in this province, but our government leaves the impression that such approval will be a breeze. Earlier today, Canada and Germany signed a memorandum of understanding for us to sell hydrogen to Germany. The federal energy minister specifically referred to this province as one that would see jobs and prosperity from the deal. Envirowatch NL might not be quite so excited. It's a group of volunteers who advocate for the natural world and for communities that take the brunt of industrial development. Alison Dyer is a founding member, and she's on the line now. Hello.
Hi there.
Where does Envirowatch NL stand right now on the World Energy GH2 project proposed for Port-au-Port and the Codroy Valley? Because that seems to be the one we've heard the most about.
Right. That's the one that seems to be getting shoved through the process at the moment. Well, quite simply, we simply feel that there has not been sufficient public consultation. We've heard time and time again from the people there, the Codroy that's been all but ignored in the environmental impact assessment. But, people have said over and over again, you've no social license. We don't want you here, et cetera, et cetera. And so, really, their project, as the others, are not going to benefit those communities. They're not going to benefit Newfoundland and Labradorians. They will benefit the foreign corporate shareholders. That's it. Wind energy, we actually, absolutely. We say we need wind energy, small scale, medium size, but not these mega projects.
When we've heard that argument put forth before on the air, we're occasionally then getting response from people who say, you're only talking to the complainers. Lots of folks over here are in favor. What credence do you give to that? I don't know.
Yeah, and I wonder who says that, right? Who's actually saying that? We even know that some of the local politicians in that area, when they heard that there was going to be, a protest against them, he instigated he instigated the mayor of Stephenville to get a pro-world energy protest on the go. That doesn't sound quite right in my mind.
What do you make of this memorandum of understanding that we have signed today for the sale of hydrogen to Germany? There was another similar announcement a year and a half ago, which I think was called a statement of intent or something. But the federal government seems to keep making announcements that are coming out ahead of our own environmental approval process.
Absolutely. Really, I read it with total exasperation and anger, of course, and anger for the arrogance, really, of some of the politicians there. And, regardless of how these politicians spin this silver bullet, which they're kind of calling it, basically they are running roughshod over our environmental assessment process. It's denying the majority of those affected in the rural communities due consideration, any real consultation. And we've said over and over again, these four corporations do not have the social license there to proceed. Essentially, our governments, both the federal and provincial, they're short-term reactors, right? They have short-term mandates. They need to be seen to be doing something about the climate crisis. And as usual, they seem to be throwing, the only way to do something is throwing money at it.
I've heard it said, I've heard it said that if we're going to go big into green energy, which apparently everyone agrees is what the planet needs, it doesn't come without its own environmental cost. And sometimes we have to weigh one against the other and go with the one that best guarantees a healthy planet in the future, I guess. In that context, what do you think the correct approach is to a project like a wind farm in a place like Newfoundland and Labrador?
Well, first of all, I would love to know who is saying you have to go big in this situation. I mean, where did that ever get us before? And that's precisely where we are right now, is because of our whole economic system.
Well, what's your vision of it?
The whole model is based on continuing growth.
Right. So what's the alternative model?
If we do exactly the same thing, not only are we not going to get out of the climate crisis, we're going to go there much faster, and we'll be cutting off any possibility of doing anything about it. We're losing time.
So, sure, I get your point that that's the approach we shouldn't take. What's the alternative model, do you think, that stands us the best chance?
And you're paying me the big bucks for it, right? But seriously, I mean, the only way is to, honestly, it's bite that bullet. We cannot technologize our way out of it. Recognizing that first, there have to be some difficult decisions that are made. We have to go smaller. We have to relocalize our economies, basically. Wind farms, I think we could definitely do with wind farms. For example, if we're just looking at Newfoundland and Labrador, we know right now, and that's the other thing, everyone's talking about the hydrogen industry. It's not the hydrogen industry that we are exporting. It's ammonia. That's an energy vector. It's not even an energy fuel. So by the time it gets there, and you've heard this before, it's at we've lost 80% of the efficiency.
Right.
No, Germans or no other place are we going to be able to be competitive in the long term, or even probably in the short term. Germans want to keep their options open, I am sure, with this memorandum of understanding. But once they get their own, other energies or other wind farms or whatever on the go, I mean, we are certainly not going to be competitive on this island way out in the Atlantic, shipping ammonia.
I know you're hosting a panel. Sorry, I know you're hosting a panel tomorrow evening on this. It's the topic is corporate or climate: the real green energy agenda. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of interest in it, actually. We've got three great panelists. We'll be taking sort of a deeper dive into the whole sort of, MOs of some of the corporate players and the CEOs. So, some of them don't have the most stellar of reputations in working in other jurisdictions, particularly in quotations, third world countries, which I may say is exactly how they regard us here. And so we'll be looking at Ravi Sood with Everick in Central, as well as John Risley with World Energy in the West, and Trent Fish with Everwind in the Buren. And for that, we'll have Joan Baxter, a reporter with the Halifax Examiner, who's also just been in Germany, I think, where we're speaking with her colleagues there, so has some more information about that. And, so that will be interesting to see what we can find out a little bit more about these corporations.
All right. I'll tell folks about the details of that now. Thanks a lot for talking to us today.
You're most welcome.
That is Alison Dyer, a founding member of Envirowatch NL. That group will be hosting a panel on Tuesday. That's tomorrow night, 7:30 Island time is when it starts. It's called Corporate or Climate: the Real Green Energy Agenda. And you can find it by going to the Envirowatch NL Facebook page.